Welcome to the next video. Today we are going to study about motivation. Today we learn about motivation and process of motivation. We all are familiar with the topic motivation, and sometime in somehow we are using this term in our life. But now we know about more details, the factors and the process of motivation, and what are the factors which affect a motivation level, and various aspects about this. Let's know. Motivation is a kind of inspiration which emphasizes anyone for doing any work. What we do, what we act, what we think, what we perform in all aspect, there is a motivation which provokes, which provokes us, and which gives energy to do and continue our work. That is motivation. We do any work, there is a motivation behind it. So motivation is a factor uh, which inspire anyone to do any work. The literal meaning of motivation, the word motivation is derived from the Latin word motum, which means move, motor, and motion, which means any agent that derives motion. Motivation is a literally any agent that derive motion, that is any agent which derive us which induces us to do any work. That agent is called motivating factor. Various scholars has defined the word motivation in different way, and let's know about this. According to scholar Good, motivation is the process of inspiration starting of doing any work and continuing it regularly. Good said motivation is a process of inspiration. That is true. When we do any work, there is an inspiration behind this. We start learning anything, there is a motivation behind this motivation. Maybe we all are studying here, there is a motivation behind this. There is a motivation behind getting job, getting respect in society, and for all the students, their source of motivation different, and their inspiration is different. But the factor behind this, that we are doing a study, there is a motivation behind this which gives power to continue our work. For starting any work, we need a motivation, and and continuing it regularly, we need motivation. So Goods says motivation is the process of inspiration for starting or doing any work and continuing it regularly. The other scholar, Blair, Johnson, and Simpson, said motivation is a kind of inspiration in which a learner's internal power and needs focus him towards his goal according to his own environment. Uh, the definition of Blair, Johnson, and Simpson's defined motivation in a broader manner. He in his definition also said about internal power and external power. Indirectly, he is indicating about types of motivation, that is internal motivation and external motivation. We learn about these two types in another video. Let's concentrate on the meaning of the motivation here. That is a motivation for doing anything. We have motivation which came from external factor, due to external factor, or maybe it came from internal power, that is our insight, our thought, think, our perceptions. All these inspire us to do any work. That is called internal motivation. And external motivation, which comes from external factor outside from us. And Johnson and Simpson says motivation is a kind of inspiration and which learner's internal power and needs focus him towards his goal. This is true that any learner's internal power and their needs. Our need is a very big factor in motivation for achieving any goals. Our need help us or uh, our help us and gives power or energy to continue the work. If we don't have any need to do any work, our need help us to achieve our goal. So that's why our need is a motivation which help us to achieve our goals. And our environment also affect in this process. Our environment is also a motivating factor. Another scholar, Creech and Critchfield, very clearly define motivation. He says the question of motivation is question of why. That is a very true and very concise definition. But this definition explain this term in a very clear manner. That is question of why we are doing any work. uh, that is the motivating factor behind this doing work. The question of why is the question of motivation is question of why. Anything why we do any work, that is motivation behind doing this work. That is the definition of motivation according to these three scholars. Now let's proceed to the next topic. The next one is process of motivation of student. The arrival of students in any of the educational institutions implies that he or she is motivated for learning, doesn't matter more or less. So, for motivating a child completely, or our psychologists have developed many processes which are as follows: giving knowledge about the utility for any subject matter. Utility or product utility is one of the most important and strong motives. If the student should get clear about the subject matter utilities in future, then they get attracted and interested as well as get motivated for doing any work. So, giving knowledge about the utility for any subject matter is one of the key to motivate students towards learning for the purpose of the subject matter and skill training. If the purpose for educating any subject or training about any skill gets clear, then the student also get motivated for doing those things and learning those skills. The third one is needs of student. Any of the skill or training may be very useful for the nation, but if it is not used by the student or if does not satisfy the needs of any student, then he/she does not get motivated for learning those skills. But once he feels his need, he gets motivated for doing it. Level of aspiration. There are some students who only aspire for getting pass marks, some from second division, some from first division. In the same way, some tries to get small jobs while some wants to do some business and jobs for officer rank. So it is seen that those students whose level of aspiration is high, they would be motivated much more for doing or achieving his goal. So a teacher should be have to increase the level of aspiration of students. Class climate also plays an important role for motivating any child. Beautiful classroom, pure air, sufficient light, calm environment, the relationship between teachers and student are the factors for development of good class classroom climate. If the classroom climate is healthy and favorable for students learning, then the level of motivation of a student is automatically increases. Teachers behavior, the attitude of teachers is one of the factor which motivates student. If the teachers behavior with love, affection and cooperation, then children are much motivated for achieving his goals. Reward and punishment, children should be rewarded according to their efforts and punished for their wrong deeds. It is found that reward and appreciation is much effective than punishment, and punishment should also be given politely, not in anger. Rivalry and competition, sometimes competition and rivalry acts also play an important role in motivation of a child, but sometimes it leads to jealousy that should be minimized. So it should be done in a balanced manner. Knowledge of success. According to psychologist Skinner, if the learners learn that he has learned something successfully or he gets success in achieving his goal, then it works as motivation for him and it reinforces him to do again and again. So if student get importance of success, then he will motivate to do his study or any work. There, there are also many methods to enhance motivation in a student, but which method should be followed depends upon the age, maturity, psychology, subject matter, as well as nature of skill and environment of students. So, from the above methods, we can increase the motivation of students as a motivation is art by itself. Hence, a teacher should be eligible or trained or have mastery over it. So, from the above discussions, we have learned that how important is motivation for a student, for a learner. In fact, motivation is important for not only for student teachers, it's important for all individuals, whether they are employee, employer, worker, labor, officer, servant, for everyone. For moving forward in life, motivation is a very important. So this is all about today's learning. Thank you, thanks for watching. We wait for your valuable comment. Thank you. We will see you in the next video. Thank you.